Money20 is back in Asia, and it's in our hometown in Bangkok, and it's the premier place to find out what's happening in the world of fintech and finance. If you come to this event, you'll see that there are fintechs here, incumbent finance companies here, banks here, regulators here, and investors here, and we wanted to find a way to talk to all of them so we could tell you what was happening on the cutting edge of fintech and finance in Asia.
Before we jump in, let's thank the sponsor of this episode, Dr. Tech. Dr. Tech can help you build your e-commerce store and start selling quickly online and on social media in just a few days. And Dr. Tech stores are gorgeous, modern, and responsive. They are fully customizable and simple to use. Dr. Tech stores have hundreds of included optimizations that will help you sell more online, and a support team that can answer all of your questions. With Dr. Tech, there are no hidden costs, no commissions on sales, no add-ons to buy. Everything is included in one simple subscription. So go to hello.dr.tech/ATP to get a free trial and start building your store. You can find the link in the description below. Also, Dr. Tech is offering a special deal to the listeners of the Asia Tech podcast. After your free trial, you can get your first full month for only $1. To get this deal, simply type ATP into the live chat, and they will send you a special promo code. Thanks again to Dr. Tech for sponsoring, and now let's get back to the show.
What types of innovations can we expect in money in 2025 and beyond?
I think money should be borderless and should be real time. Just like when you send messages on WhatsApp, I type a message to you, you're in different parts of the world, you get the message instantly. Payments should be like that, not like 3 days later. I should be sending you money and you should receive it instantly.
So why is it not that way right now?
Because a lot of it is based on older-fashioned infrastructure. It was built decades ago that was patching money from one bank to another. And this entire infrastructure is going to be replaced by modern tooling that's going to move it around in a much more simpler way.
Okay, dig just a little bit deeper for me into what this modern tooling is so I can get a better sense of how it's going to change it instead of being T+3 or T+4 to be instantaneous like this conversation is.
I think it's a lot of the local payment methods are going to be based on real-time protocols in country. And then the other thing that's going to happen is team-ups between different payment providers around the world so that they can move money between them. Instead of moving it on traditional infrastructure where things are batched, you have instant on-demand payments between partners that have local access to real-time payment networks.
Okay, one more thing. What is the impact of things like the unified payment interface in India, Pix in Brazil, Prompt Pay in Thailand, and Pay Now in Singapore?
I think it's all the same pattern, that when you build it and it's real time, it's delightful, people will use it and use it in a lot of ways.
Exactly. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. What types of innovations in money can we expect in 2025?
Yeah, so I think the most important trend for the money movement is the stablecoin. So we are one of the leading company in the world to apply for the U.S. license, Japanese license, to get the stablecoin payment license in the world. So we provide the wallet service, AML KYC between traditional banking and then wallet, plus the stablecoin settlement network. For example, we help enterprise to switch stablecoin like USDC to settle between Polygon, Stellar, to Avalanche, different blockchains. Yeah.
Do you want to tell people that may not be familiar with stablecoins just exactly what they are first?
Yeah, so stablecoin is a one-to-one back US dollar digital money. Yeah, so if the traditional money we call fiat goes to stablecoin, and the money can flow on the blockchain. So the benefit for money movement on the blockchain is really cheap, and then it's so fast. So anyone in the world can receive the money within 1 second. Yeah.
Okay, that's really awesome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
If the barrier to uptake or entry into the enterprise for AI and blockchain isn't a technical problem, is it a regulatory problem, or what kind of problem is it?
If it's not technical, I would think there are two possibilities. It's either regulatory, because we have seen that, or user experience. Because these two areas that you just mentioned, both blockchain and AI, they're pretty abstract to most people. So how would people actually interact with these two technology or capability? The user experience makes a big difference.
It does. And can I ask you this? Because I've been following the blockchain market since I feel like 2012 or 2013, so a long time. Why is it so hard to build a great user experience inside of it? Is it similar to kind of like what Microsoft was in the late 70s, where they were building for other engineers? or instead of building for regular people?
I don't think it is difficult, but I think just right now the focus has not been building the user experience. Most people are looking at use cases right now. I think the use case and adoption actually takes precedence over user experience. But I think user experience is really important, because without that, it's almost like a circular loop. Without that, you cannot get adoption. But right now, also use case is important.
So what are some of the best use cases we can expect to become more popular than they are now in 2025?
Right now, it's very obvious. Everybody is using blockchain for tokenized real-world asset and also payment because of the instantaneous nature of the settlement and also the transfer. I think it will continue to be like that, because I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, the use cases right now. There's still so much that we can do in these areas.
Can you talk to me a little bit more about the tokenization of real-world assets and why it's so important? There's more to it than just the fact that it's instantaneous payment.
I think it is the tokenization of real-world asset become very important, not just because of the instantaneous nature of it. That's important because that unlock liquidity in the market. But also one thing that is important is the decentralization aspect of it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today.
All right, thank you.
What types of innovations in money can we expect in 2025?
I think there are two primary types of innovation that you will see itself in 2025. Not that it will be a full-blown trend, but over the course of the next 5 years. The first of which is the exploitation and the monetization of data across multiple financial institutions and how to do that. The second one is the not explosion, but the increased use of stable coins as a real way of transacting rather than the traditional rails.
Okay, you have to explain to me why the stablecoin is such a big deal. You have to explain, and then I want to get back to the other thing in data.
My view is that stablecoins are becoming a big deal because they are an alternative to the traditional rails while maintaining the stability and removing the volatility that's associated with digital assets per se.
I got it, but why do we need an alternative to the traditional rails?
Cost. Traditional rails are significantly costlier than what the blockchain avails.
Okay, so you're saying that if I use the blockchain to transfer valued assets on the chain as opposed to off-chain, it's more expensive to do it off-chain than it is to do on-chain.
There are various reasons, but yes, cost is the primary one.
Okay, let's go back to this monetization of data. How does that work, and what kind of data are we talking about, and how is it going to be monetized?
I think banks generally around the world don't understand how much data they actually have on the clients. And in most cases, when they think about monetization of data, they think about how do I sell you the next banking product, right? Nobody thinks about how do I engineer a situation where I'm the centralized nervous system and ecosystem of all data running through the entire banking system, including what users use on other people's platform, open banking and so on and so forth. What do you do with that? Can you, for example, provide estimations and projections of offtake data to FMCG companies? Can you use that data for running, say, ads on individuals, right? All the stuff you see in Black Mirror, I think nobody's thinking about it realistically.
So how deeply do you have to go to use some of this data to get to personalized bank services, right?
It's not that deep. The reason why most banks are unable to do it, in my opinion, is the fact that they don't have a universal centralized expandable data lake.
Wait, slow down. What does that mean? A universalized centralized data lake, yeah?
I was about to get there. So in most cases, banks built their banks over the last 100 years, right? And a lot of it is through acquisition and some of it is incremental build. So it's entirely possible, and in fact very realistic, that the bank doesn't know if client A, in this case Kelvin, has an account in the US versus an account in Australia in the same bank, right? Because their data lakes are so fragmented across multiple entities and across multiple instances. What really needs to happen is a centralized pool where everyone's data sits and transacts in real time. Once you have that, the possibilities of what you can do with that are limitless.
That was awesome. I really appreciate your time, Kelvin. Thank you so much.
No worries, Mike.
I'm the founder and CEO of Nextvestment. We're a wealth tech, we're an AI native wealth tech platform.
So what does AI native mean?
Well, we start from AI, meaning to say is that our internal processes, our platform, our technology, everything is created from AI.
Interesting. Okay, what types of innovations in money do you think we can expect to see in 2025?
I think there's going to be quite a broad range. In the payment space, I think stablecoins, you can really start to see that it's taking over the world. Obviously, I'm in generative AI and the AI space. I think generative AI is just the start of the wave. You're going to see it coming into place for things like fraud, right, where you're seeing receipts being generated by generative AI. In my space in particular, I think wealth as well as financial planning, where generative AI is going to be able to speak your language, like how to explain like very difficult financial concepts in a language that you sort of understand.
So how is that going to work in real time? In other words, if I want to talk to a wealth manager, where is this generative AI going to step in, or where's it going to be part of the process? Is it going to be a hybrid thing? How's that going to work in this space?
I think you're one of the special ones who actually wants to talk to a wealth manager. I think a lot of people are scared to talk to a financial advisor or relationship manager. It's a very intimidating thing to start that investment journey if you're really thinking where you're starting out. So for us, we play in the mass affluent space. Okay. These are people who have a bit of money, a bit of understanding of how the markets work. They want that advice, but they're not making the money that the private bankers are going to come to them. So what we do is we provide a very low effort, no obligation, all right, to ask the questions that you've always wanted to ask, right? And it might start with like, look, how do I assess this company, all the way to like, should I be buying this stock? Exactly, yeah.
So do you think stablecoin also has a place to play inside of this type of investment?
I think it definitely has a place to play. I mean, the benefit of stablecoins is really the efficiency that it drives and the transparency that it drives. I think there is a bit of overlap in terms of like, how do you verify the authenticity of the information that you're getting or the transaction that you're getting? Especially nowadays that generative AI makes it so easy to just generate all sorts of things, right? You don't know what's real anymore. So having that on the blockchain, having this in sort of this immutable state is something that I think will merge, maybe not in 2025, that's a 2026 sort of thing.
Perfect. Michael, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. I hope you guys have a fun time too.
What types of innovations in money can we expect to see in 2025?
Yeah, so I think that, based on what we're working on and trying to solve, which is moving everyday finance on chain, money will become more fluid. With regards to like moving from location to location, especially with what we're seeing in regards to stablecoins. So I think that's the biggest kind of thing that's happening this year.
So dig deeper into stablecoins for me. Everybody that we spoke to today, no, you're number 6, 5 people have mentioned stablecoins. Why?
Yeah, I think it's because there's, it's borderless. So I think that's the major thing. So whenever you're moving value from, let's say, said country, and you move it on chain and convert it to a stablecoin, then at that moment you can do, on-chain FX really quickly with different pairs of currencies, and then you can off-ramp it, in matters of minutes, and then the upside is speed, cost, and everything that comes with it.
What happens to the fiat? So let's say I have dollars, I bring them into Thailand, I transfer them into a stablecoin. Who keeps those dollars? What happens to them?
So it depends which ethos you're fueling, So if you're on the centralized side of things, then you're going to have a custodial type of infrastructure. We believe more on everything that is non-custodial. So everything that's actually physically on chain and is decentralized. So in that context, nobody's holding it, and everything is traded permissionlessly. So that's what we feel is the best way of moving value around.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Very interesting stuff. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
So for us, there are 3 things that I think are going to be really, really exciting. One is interoperability between regions, between payment schemes, between SWIFT and alternate payments, SWIFT and stablecoins, and a lot of this that you'll continue seeing. Always circling back to a use case that customers find difficult to solve for. So we've now gotten beyond the hype cycle of technology for technology's sake, but really solving for problems that exist for businesses and customers around the world. Yeah, I think that's one. Second, I do think traditional incumbent banks will start forming larger partnerships and realizing that the best way of doing this is getting the things you're best at and combining it with fintechs who are better at some of these other capabilities and driving that value back to their customers.
When you talk about the big banks or the traditional banks finding bigger partnerships, what type of partnerships are they? And this is with other fintechs, right? Not with other banks. Because at least in the US, we've been through 2.5 decades of just massive consolidation. Yeah. When I was a kid, there were probably 25 banks in my state. Right. Now there are probably 5 banks in the US.
I think consolidation is definitely going to be a key theme. But the partnerships I think I'm focusing a lot more on is banks with fintechs and specific parts of the business. So retail, big area for the banks to think of distribution, to think of improving customer experience, to augmenting it with AI and personalization. SMEs, similarly, access to finance. I think banks will very quickly realize that their core building blocks aren't necessarily the customer-facing aspects. A lot of this is going to be wholesale, the licensing, the heavy lifting that they do in the back.
Do you think there's a way for a fintech to benefit from their ability to build a better UI and a better UX and then layer that on top of some of the things that banks are actually good at?
Absolutely. We see this today with a lot of partners that use Waitze platforms. So we do see banks waking up to this challenge of creating amazing UI, UXs. But for that, you need to have the infrastructure that spurs that on. If you don't have the underlying rails, if you don't have the underlying capability or a provider that does, it's very hard to create that experience on the front end.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Saras. I really appreciate it.
Amazing. Thanks, Michael.
I'm Janet Salem. I work at Footprint Lab, and I am the co-founder of Footprint Lab.
Awesome. I love talking to co-founders. What types of innovations in money can we expect in 2025?
We're going to see a lot on green fintech. So we're going to embed money data with all sorts of sustainability data. Banks everywhere are doing it. So this is a new trend, really easy to do, very exciting.
Is that why you're dressed in all green today?
It's also Earth Day. So
I know that. Can you tell me, do you have any new partnerships or anything you'd like to announce that maybe you signed today or yesterday?
Yeah, we actually signed with Wing Bank in Cambodia. So they're going to enrich all transaction data with sustainability data, which is really great leadership. And we're really excited. It'll be the first to do so in Cambodia.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
No worries. And by the way, we met them here last year. So we've gone full circle, meeting at the stage actually here, Money 2020 last year, to signing the agreement on the other side this year.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I think the biggest innovation is you're going to be able to talk to your money. And that means that you're going to be actually talking to an AI that's able to handle all your money, give you advice on money, move your money around where it's needed, and just maintain your relationship completely digitally.
So is artificial intelligence going to give our money, and I mean this unironically, like more fluidity? Is that really what's going to happen here? And can you give me an example of where I want to talk to my money and what the outcome of that talking would be and what the back and forth? Is this agentic AI?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be agentic AI driven at the back. And imagine when you talk to a chat GPT or any of these AIs out there and you ask them, okay, tell me a bit about myself based on these conversations. The kind of insight you'll get about it knows everything about you, like the little ticks that even your closest friends won't know. The same thing's going to be with your money, right? Like it will know what you do with your money, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, where you could optimize. And it's going to be that advisor you kind of never had, because it's not going to be just driven by this need to sell you more, but a true advisor in a sense that's going to help you out.
So this is interesting. So you're suggesting that when this gets perfected, and I'm sure this is one of the things you're working on, I can sit down with like my family and just say, I have a 4-year-old daughter, right? I've got these other family members, and I have this amount of money in income, this amount of money in savings. What should I do with it to optimize for my daughter's education while still having enough money to put into the S&P 500 every month so that by the time I'm 65, I can retire?
Yeah. And even better, right? It's going to, after it does all of that, it might even message you next week saying, oh, we know a big Fed rate cut is coming, so I'd suggest we move the money out of an FD, a fixed deposit, and move it into the equity market right now, or move it to gold. So it's going to help you out in any way.
So you're suggesting that falling interest rates are good for stocks?
Yeah, absolutely, always.
Okay, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, this was fun.
My name is Chi. I am the SVP or the GM of Asia Pacific for Yuno. And Yuno is a payment orchestrator platform who help to bring merchants to connect to the world when they can sell to everywhere and everyone.
Okay, what types of innovations in money would you like to see in 2025?
Yeah, this is a really tricky one because it's personally what I would love to see. It is really about being able, any merchants who is doing any businesses, they can sell to anyone in the world. So the customer is going to be everywhere in the world, and then they will get access to the goods that it is being sold in anywhere. So it is really a level playing field for the merchants and for the buyer to be able to get the best deal out of each other.
And what are the challenges around actually building that or having that?
Okay, the challenges is really about money movement, because when you really look at how we move money from one countries to another countries, we have a lot of different currencies. We have a lot of regulations and restrictions as well on how you want to get the money and then to get the goods to that persons as well. So how to achieve that, it is where payment innovations comes in, and FinTech like Yuno and all these companies is trying to match both the buyer and the seller, so that you can get your goods and they can get the money when they pay. Yeah.
So who benefits from the current structure, and who would benefit from this new innovation that you want to have?
So basically what happened is when you imagine you are buying using a Visa card and MasterCard, so those will be the companies who is beneficials from current stage. Yeah, exactly. And another players would be the bank, because imagine you're sending money from Singapore to India. It takes 3 or 4 days, so where the money sits, right? So these companies are currently holding them, and innovations FinTechs are the one who disrupt this and make it a level playing field for all of us.
Thank you so much for your time today. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
We see democratization of money so much as the QR portability is happening across Southeast Asia. You can use a Singapore wallet, pay in Thailand without having to exchange currency, then pay in India and pay in Vietnam. So you're seeing a lot of this cross-border transactions happening incredibly seamlessly, like as simple as sending an SMS. But with that is coming the need for trust, the need for protection, the need for cybersecurity across it, and that's where Chubb plays a part.
So where does trust come in? How does Chubb engender trust across all of these things you're saying? It's a complex ecosystem. Where does Chubb come in and create that trust?
As the money becomes as liquid as it does, from cross-border perspective, you're paying to merchants you're not familiar with, you're playing in geographies you're not familiar with, there's high likelihood of various impersonation scams, social engineering. We are there to protect our users of our platform partners in terms of providing coverage. We also create a lot of awareness. We do a lot of monitoring in terms of educating the customers around these risks so that they can better protect themselves.
Thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
What types of innovations in money can we expect in 2025?
I think there's many. We just launched our global banking study, which looks ahead in 2025, but also up to 2030. One of the most interesting ones, in my view, is how we change banking in a sense of conversational banking and experience for customers. Because if you look back, digitization has done a lot, lots of convenience for customers, lots of efficiency for banks. But it becomes an echo chamber of sameness. Everyone has the same experience. You're going to click through the telephone menus, list number XYZ. I want to speak to an agent. Chatbot is the most hated experience. And when we look forward is AI agents changing that experience. So generative AI, we truly believe will change that. It will become much more conversational. You feel like a valued customer again. It's personalized. And we will have very different experience in the future.
Do you think agentic AI is going to build like new hybrid experiences as opposed to digital only and human only?
It will always be hybrid for those who can afford it. So there's obviously economics in a banking system where the masses need to be more served digitally, but it needs to be personal, and the AI agents can do that, and there will be many who will get a more personal service. So yes, hybrid, yes, but for the right segments where it's economically viable.
Nicole, thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you so much.
So I think the biggest innovations are going to be agentic AI to AI payments, enabling the services to not only perform activity for yourselves, but also then pay for that activity as well.
So what does that mean? That means I can actually talk to some kind of interface and say, please pay my electric bill, and it's just going to go out and find my electric bill because it's my agent, and then it's going to pay that bill in a way that I would normally pay it manually.
Exactly, and then if there's an agent on the other side, so today you call someone and you speak to a human agent to pay your electricity bill. This would be your agent that you've employed to pay your bills, to purchase items on your behalf. Speaking to the to the company's agent as well, making it a seamless interaction for both parties, both the consumer and the corporate taking the funds.
So do you write the software for both sides of this conversation? So does your agentic AI have to talk to your guy on the other side, or can it talk to anybody's agentic AI and still understand each other in a way that's back and forth?
Yeah, so they should be able to work with any agentic AI. That's the biggest change that I think I'll see over 2025 and beyond.
Is that your agentic AI will be able to work with mine, even though they weren't written with the same software, the same design?
Yeah, so it would be able to work out it like you can use any website and you can go through any payment process. The agent can also then go and work through that process as well. And the seller will also want the other agents to be able to be compatible with their software as well.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
I would say that probably one of the main ones that I have seen even in the conference today is the hyper-personalization and hyper-segmentation of customers. That means that with AI, we are able to understand so much more about each individual customer. And this has been helping a lot of fintechs and banks to hyper-personalize the products that they are offering, right? To really understand what the customer needs, look at the roster of products and offer something that makes sense for them at the right time and with the right fit. It is powered by AI. It is kind of connected with embedded finance as well, but I think the main goal is to be able for companies to use that technology to offer the best product at the right time to the right customer.
So how do you continue to dig deeper into the data that you're gathering, right? Because that's where most of the personalization comes from. A lot of it's going to come from AI analyzing data. And as you gather more data, I don't want to ask if you can make the products more personalized, but just way more relevant, if that makes sense. How does that sound?
I think that's perfect. When I said personalized, I think that goes to be more relevant for the customer. In the end, I think that's the outcome. AI has been present in fintech for a long time in banks, but always in the back office, right? Running the credit controls, the analytics part. And now we're seeing that creeping in into the front side, the relationship with customers and so on. And this is something that we have been trying to apply as well, how we can bring the technology from the back into the front, how we can use that to help our customers more directly.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
So I don't want to talk only about 2025, but I want to talk about what we as EBANX are seeing. So one of the things that we are seeing is increasingly cross-border money movement because it's complex. People want to simplify it, right? Especially when we're talking about global merchants who want to collect from emerging economies. What do they want? They want someone who can simplify all the complexities, whether it's regulatory complexities, compliance, taxes, etc. And that's where they look at an intermediary like EBANX, right? Who has done this in various markets in LATAM. We've done it in Africa, and now we are doing it in India. So we are present in 29 countries. What I'm trying to say is that the innovation that you're going to see is intermediaries who are disrupting the market by absorbing all the complexities, but offering a very, very simple payment solution to their clients. And go on. And that's what will make cross-border movement, money movement much simpler.
So what is the impact of something like the Unified Payments Interface on the ability for a company like EBANX to expand into India faster?
So just to tell you, we are live with UPI in India. We are already offering it to global merchants. We are the first global PSP to be live with UPI Recurring, which is like a recurring payment set up on UPI. What's the impact? The impact is that not everyone in India owns a credit card, for example, right? There's like 20% penetration of credit in India, but everyone uses UPI. UPI has about 400 million customers. That means we are offering access. We are offering all customers in India, and we are offering UPI as an instrument to go global. That's the impact that we can give to our merchants as well as, to a payment system like UPI.
Yeah, UPI has been really important for the growth of the economy in India.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
What types of innovations can we expect to see in fintech or in finance in 2025?
So not so much innovation, but big trends, and especially in cross-border payments. Cross-border. That's what we do anyway. But I would tend to say there is the interoperability trick or problem that we have and that we have to solve all together. Interoperability between the mobile money, mobile wallets, banks, and the future of probably all this, which is stablecoin and digital assets. And those three worlds needs to be interoperable and fluid in order for us to be cross-border efficient.
What is driving the growth and the interest in stablecoins? We've heard a lot about that over the last couple of days.
Well, we don't. Well, we embrace stablecoins. We don't drive any growth with it. So I don't feel I'm the right person to ask this to, but I would say because it's instant, it solves the liquidity pool a lot. Nevertheless, stablecoin uniquely doesn't work, right? So it will be fiat and stablecoin together. So that's where we play a role, and like that whole ecosystem needs to play a role together, as well as regulators, by the way.
So what's going to drive this interoperability? It's really important, right? Because nobody succeeds alone. You're going to have to play with a bunch of different partners. What drives the interoperability?
Well, competition, I would say, really. Like we have our pools of rails. Stablecoin has its own pools of rails. All this needs to go together, and we need the one with the other in order to succeed. So the more we play strategic partnerships, the more we'll be successful.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
In money, it will be a lot of new revenue because of an AI can boost the revenue of the companies through improving the sales, improving the quality of the sales, improving the take-up rates by the customer. And of course, it can do a lot of savings because AI is cheaper than the human operators and better.
Does agentic AI play a role here? And what is that back and forth supposed to look like for people?
No, I mean when I say that the AI, I meant the agentic AI. I mean like a sales agent or a collection agent or a servicing agents,
Thank you very much for your time. That was very easy and straightforward.
The greatest innovation that's happened and really taking adoption this year is really around stablecoins. Okay. Last year, I think we started to discussing with prospects and customers around the value of stablecoins, but this year the opportunity is already happening. We're seeing 4 major use cases adopting stablecoins at the moment. Number one are countries that are currently looking for US dollar hedges around their own currency. So think Latin America, think Africa. Organically, they're looking to get US dollar exposure and turn into stable coins for those exposures. The second type is actually around working capital. So businesses today that needs a lot of working capital to move 24/7 and that brings value to the business are also adopting stable coins as well. The third type of businesses is really around digital economies, right? So e-commerce platforms, creator platforms that has the requirement of paying 80 to 100 countries of their users and I guess customers in those cases are leveraging stablecoins to help facilitate those payments. And finally, which is where I think things getting really excited now, is something what we call the stablecoin sandwich, which is the ability to improve fiat rails using a stablecoin in the medium, meaning you're on-ramping in one fiat to a stable, you send the stable across border to a different country, and then you off-ramp it locally. By leveraging the stablecoin as a medium, they're now improving speed and cost for cross-border payments.
And for people that may not understand, when you say off-ramping it, you mean they're turning it back into fiat in that local country.
That's right. So you have fiat that the sender wants to send, that gets converted into some sort of stablecoins. They move the stablecoin on the blockchain, and then the receiver, in most cases, which could be a PSP or a bank, will then help sell that stablecoin back into fiat and deliver it into the receiver's banking accounts.
I want to ask you one more question. Why is this so important for working capital?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to speed, right? Today, if you are moving money across border or you're moving large amount of money, anywhere the settlement time from when the sender wants to send the instructions to when the receiver wants to receive it is anywhere between 1 to 2 days, depending on which country you live in. Now, if you factor that in also cross-border with the FX and the cutoff time, that could be 2 to 3 days, depending on which country you live in. With stablecoins and this mechanism utilizing different digital asset liquidity, you can do that instantaneously, wherever you are in the world.
That's awesome, Amy. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course, happy to help.
AI definitely, agents and LLM from technology point of view, there's a bunch of interesting integrations, acceleration, and a change on the paradigm really, by integration on the new latest LLMs, AI into processes, assessment, risk management, and so on. Yeah.
So how does agentic AI specifically change the paradigm, and where do you think it fits in?
Agentic is quite an interesting point. Every week, every day, we have a new thing. So it's super for us. It's super interesting. Where the tech is, and we really enjoy this topic. But it's a challenge, but it's an opportunity. LLMs are bringing intelligence.
connecting many of them, you can accelerate intelligent organization. You can have faster results or smarter results without much intervention with handover of information around people, and that's kind of an advantage for organizations. So that's really what agents is bringing is a completely change on the paradigm, really.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting. Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you. A pleasure.
I think the history of money and financial industry is all about trust. So finance industry was built on trust, and what we need more in the future is more trust and reclaiming that trust. So the AI world is moving in many different directions. Deepfakes and lots of different frauds are happening all around money. Yep. And money is a honeypot for all sorts of fraud. So what we need to build is reclaim the trust within the finance industry by making sure that we're authenticating and dealing with real humans in real time.
So what role do digital IDs play in this?
Digital IDs are just another factor of potential authentication. Just like physical documents, just like biometric documents, and biometry as in facial recognition, iris, voice, and so on, digital identity is just another part.
Thank you so much for your time. Nice and easy. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thank you.
See, if you look into it, the way I am looking at it is what is very important in the future, how do we go about ethical AI? And how does it impact the people's life? And most of the banks are focused internally on making money rather than focusing on the ethics aspect of the business and how does it going to change the people's life. And there's a lot of issue in terms of OpenAI trying to do a lot more monetization that is required actually.
And what role does this voice activation, this voice stuff play in what you're doing?
When we talk about the voice AI, the important aspect is that we focus on the regional aspect of the language, the tonality, and we predict the intent in a person. Say if you predict the intent of a person, then if he's not interested in your service, don't call him. Leave him alone.
So how do you predict that intent?
See, when you look into it, the tonality and the intent part, there's a mathematical modeling that is done, including the text plus this, and that gives you that is there an actual interest or not. And that is where we have built the large voice models, which includes these three aspects of the business.
Is there a way for a human to understand the intent in somebody else's voice in the same way that you're teaching the AI to do it?
Well, if you look into it, all the women know that if somebody is not good for them, they just move out. So that intent is already there. The people know to do that. You're just not following your body language. You're not following the way people react to you. Once you do that, then obviously that is a given part of it. And that's what we focus upon. See, if I come and try to oversell you something, then you're not going to like it. Now, if I'm able to understand you, if there's an interest, then it helps you to do that. Similarly, if somebody is not going to pay you money in a collections call, then there's no point hitting at him. Go to the legal way. That's what we are talking about.
Got it. Thank you so much for your time. Very interesting stuff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate that.
I think it's all about the future of the fintech and the AI, right? So the way we see it is it's all about creating the space for secure, frictionless, and the inclusive financial ecosystem for everyone.
So how do we make sure that it is secure? Because it's really important.
Yeah, I think for us is because there's a lot of because of the rise of the AI. There's a lot of AI-empowered fraud happening. There's, bot attacks are happening. Also, like synthetic identity fraud as well, right? So the way that we try to tackle is more like going into a bit more data enrichment approach, digital footprint, integrating together with the machine learning technology and the insights, and then using our own machine learning engine to continuously analyzing all those historical data from the customer to uncover the fraud patterns as well. There with a lot of combination, of course, and also providing the rules customization, also ownership back to the clients. That's how we are approaching the problem and solving it as well.
Thank you very much for your time. Very interesting stuff.
Thank you very much as well. Happy to be here.
Money needs to get cheaper, faster, simpler, and that's only going to happen when infrastructure comes together and we start thinking about more digital methods. We start incorporating digital tokens, stablecoins. We get the network together to get off-chain and on-chain working to make things smoother, faster, simpler.
And what's made it so hard up until now?
What's made it so hard is essentially the lack of integrated technology, the lack of network that's decentralized, the ability to actually just come together as a consensus, right? Try to reduce the need for the middleman, the intermediary, and that's what we're here to do.
So there are two things I hear about, like non-custodial stuff and custodial stuff. It's in the name. Tell me what the philosophy is here.
So the philosophy is that the two can coexist. Funny enough, we've just announced our latest self-custody offering called Solutions by Zodia Custody. The two things absolutely coexist together. They have different purposes, different needs. And when we're talking about money, again, both are equally important. The ability to interact between the two is crucial.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been having these conversations for a while now about DeFi versus TradFi, and the reality is there's just Fi. Is that fair?
Do you know what? The world of TradFi is now meshing into DeFi. The world of DeFi is meshing into TradFi. You're absolutely right. The winners are going to be the ones that make the experience seamless for the end users. It shouldn't matter what type of asset or what type of asset is underlying on the technology, as long as the experience is seamless.
Thank you so much for your time. Very interesting stuff.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Money 2020 in Asia 2025, held in our hometown in Bangkok, did not disappoint. All of the things we wanted to learn in fintech and finance and all the innovative things happening, we were able to learn here, and what's going to happen, it's going to be amazing in 2025. We cannot wait for this event to come back in 2026. Bye.